Welcome, Jason, to our podcast. I'm glad to have you on here. Jason is the owner of the Profitable Salesman. Welcome.
I appreciate it, David. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And for our listeners, can you give us a brief history of how you got started in this business and where it is now?
Yeah, definitely. I've been a serial entrepreneur all my life, David. As you know, we've had a few conversations. Built multiple
Yep.
businesses in my 20s, my 30s. I got into the commercial tire world, building that out and building the company out for the sales aspect, lead generation side. Top salesman of the year. My third year into the company, built multiple different stores up. Last year, director of sales into that industry, different company. We did over 100 million last year, where I had 42 salesmen under me. 200 total employees
Wow.
under, and we just grew it tremendously well. And my heart was, building that out, but really coaching and helping people. And so what got me started with the Profitable Salesman is all of those aspects of coaching and business building that I'd done for years for everybody else. I did have my companies in my early 20s. I went through some failed businesses, failed marriage, failed a lot of things before I had God. And then I found God, found my relationship there, and it changed my life. But then I had started working for a company. But in that company, I still got to kind of pull up my entrepreneurial roots and building the other businesses, the other stores, multiple different locations, states.
Sure.
And so I really wanted to get back into that, and that's where I started the Profitable Salesman. And I've been doing that now for I guess about a few years now. Man, time goes fast, doesn't it? Been building that and coaching and consulting businesses and clients, salesmen, lead generation, and helping build their businesses. But it's all faith led and just following what God's calling me to do.
Okay. Very good. And so lead generation and marketing sales, is that your niche then?
That's my niche. That's my stick. Everything that I've done in all of my businesses, that's been my go-to. That's what I've been really good at, is finding out who your ideal client is, what your offer is, how do we get it in front of those people. And I go about it multiple different ways. I have a Facebook group that you're a part of, and everybody else can check that out as well.
Yep.
But that Facebook group, I grew that to 4,000 members within 8 months, just finding different ways to get in front of people. And that was all organically done. And so doing that, it led me to other opportunities. I'm actually the vice president of global sales with Abundant TV now. Abundant TV is the fastest growing Christian streaming service in the world. So
Okay.
starting that out, now I'm doing this, and my show on there is getting, between 40 to 60,000 viewers a week on our show. We're
Wow.
getting, 500,000 viewers a day throughout the network. But just that lead generation, getting in front of people, I love that challenge. It's so fun figuring out how to get your message in front of people.
Okay. So what is there a trick or steps you go to for a new business to get that in front of people kind of thing? Because I know
Mhm.
that is a struggle for some people. It's like, I know my ideal client, but where are they at? How do they find them?
Yeah, most of our clients, we think we know who that ideal client is, but the journey starts with really diving that in. So we might have that ideal client, what we think about it is, what we know it is, but how I dive into it is we really get to know them. We want to intimately know who our ideal client is, and once we have that, then we can find out where they're hanging out on social medias, which social media platform they're at. How do we get in front of them? Is it geographical? Is it through different groups? Is it through different activities? Like, what are their likes? What are their interests? Once we know all that stuff, now we know how to get in front of them because we know where they hang out. Right? When I was
Hmm.
building my brick and mortar businesses, you didn't go to a restaurant to find somebody that's driving a truck. Right? They're on the road.
Sure.
You got to know where your people hang out, where they sit, and that's where we're going to go to. And it's kind of biblically speaking, when you think about Jesus, he came to where we're at, right? And so
Sure.
that's what we want to do as a business too. We want to go to where they're at.
Sure.
Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense. And I know Jesus, he went to the synagogues because that's where people who already feared God
Hmm.
met. And then he brought some new revelation to him that, hey, I'm the Messiah here. And yeah, that didn't go too well all the time. But yeah, no, that's really good. So begging the question is, how do you get to know your ideal client? If you don't know where he's at, what's the step before that? How do you get to know them? You said get to know them intimately. How do you get to know them intimately at that
Well,
point?
more often than not, your ideal client is a past version of yourself, because you're trying to
Okay.
fix your old problems that you already have the solutions to.
Hmm.
And to be honest with you, that's a good way to go about it, because you've already
Hmm.
been, where they're at and where they want to go. And so you know them, the client knows them intimately because it was a past version of themselves. So we really dive that in. It's a lot of psychological discussions within that. Like me, my ideal clients at one point was, a single father before God, having to think outside the box in terms of making things work. It's
Sure.
definitely changed in that aspect, but it's still a past version of myself. It's just, as we get older, it changes. And so
Yep.
9 times out of 10, that's the person that we're trying to find, is the old version of yourself.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Interesting. And you know yourself better than anybody else, so that should be fairly easy. But
Hmm.
and so have you found that when people write down that ideal client avatar of themselves, they're actually able to find other people like that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes. And you think about it this way, David. Us as humans, we like to be around people that are like us. It makes us feel
Yeah.
comfortable. It
Sure.
makes conversations easy. The flow of it all works well, and so we like to be around people like us. And so, as we dive into that with each individual client and customer, we have somebody that comes into the fold that says, "Well, this is my ideal client. This is what we're doing. This is what we're selling." And I sit back and think, and I'm like, do you really know who this ideal client is? Because a lot of the times we'll throw out a product thinking, oh, this is a great product. Well, would you buy that? And most time, a lot of times they'll say no. Well, why would you sell it? Like, how do you believe in the product? What's a great product? But how do you know how to market this now? How do you know how to get it in front of the right people if you don't even know if you would buy it? If this case, so we need to really find, it's a past version of yourself that you're fixing a problem, that there is a problem. First off, we got to figure that out. We got to dive into that,
Yes.
and then once we get all that together, that offer piece, we find out who that ideal client is, and then we can move forward.
That is a great question. Will you buy this?
Hmm.
Yeah, it really is. Or would you have bought this 10 years ago? That may be a good question too to ask.
Yeah,
Very
and
good.
and we get that a lot in the MLM space, because they're sold a version of something, that's saying, "Oh, well, the market need, they have this, or they need this," or we see it a lot in the MLM world because there's multiple ones out there. And I sit there and talk with them, and I'm like, "Well, would you buy this product? Is this a necessary need for you?" "Well, no, I'm just trying to make money off of it." "Okay, then you're gonna have a hard time selling it."
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I've been reading a book by Peter Drucker called The Essential Drucker,
Hmm.
and he talks about two essential purposes of businesses, and one is innovation. You must bring some innovation to society, whether it's price, um, doing it better, or something completely brand new.
Hmm.
You have to have some innovation, or why are you here?
Yeah,
Why do you exist?
yeah,
Very good.
exactly. Yeah, no, I agree with that wholeheartedly, and there has to be some form of that, and the innovation might not be something that's an exact, like, game changer within the industry, but the innovation might be reaching somebody that has not been reached on that. That might be the innovation as well, because
Sure.
you could be selling the same product, like in the Amazon world. We work in a lot with Amazon. Um, there's millions and millions of products on there, but
Hmm.
what was a game changer of that? It got to reach more people. It became more accessible to people, and so we have to think of that too. That innovation might just be that.
Sure. Very good. Um, you mentioned before you were not a Christian and now you're a Christian. How has becoming a Christian and putting God in your life, how has that changed the way you market, lead generation, the way you do business?
Well, everything I do in my life and my business is led by God. Where my journey started, I know we kind of have a short time, but I can tell you a brief journey with, of
Sure,
me.
go for it.
I grew up fairly poor. I love my parents are fantastic. They're great parents. They're still married. They just passed 50 years. But my dad was a truck driver. My mom was a mechanic, or my mom was a teacher. They also had side jobs where my dad was a mechanic. My mom was a bookkeeper.
Sure.
And so they always had side jobs to just make ends meet and making things happen. But we grew up in a very rural, or not rural, but a very blue collar, um, poor area.
Mhm.
I never knew that
Sure.
I missed anything or anything until I grew up and got older, but I knew I did not
Absolutely.
want to live in that space. And so I was the first person in my family to go to college. I played football. It afforded me the opportunity to do that. And so I got to go to college where, my parents didn't even graduate high school. So my sister
Sure.
was the first person in the entire family to graduate high school.
Okay.
I kind of took it
Very
a
good.
step further. So then I started the businesses in my early 20s. Thinking we grew up with faith, but we didn't go to church. We believed in
Yep.
God, but it wasn't a relationship with God. And so got into my college years. Here I am, the quarterback, the lead, all of these things, and I lived it all up. I was very much a sinner. Um, and I just felt that emptiness the entire time, and
Mm,
it was just something that I didn't know what I was missing. And so after college, I started my businesses. I had a marketing company putting billboards in the back of semi trailers. We patented. We went to the United States Postal Service. It was a very grand idea, very big thing. We almost had a $300 million valuation, and we lost it all. Started a
wow.
real estate company. 2008 came around. We lost all of this, and then at that point, I also became a single father. I had two
Mm,
young daughters. I had them 90% of the time. Their mom had some issues, and I had to figure this out. Okay, and so I'm going through divorce, bankruptcy, uh, you know, uh, legal issues with the business, and I just didn't know what to do or where to turn. And so
sure.
the whole story of me coming to God, that's pretty incredible. That's for a longer podcast, so we can do some other point. But I came to God, and I just gave it up to God and said, God, what I'm doing isn't working. I need something different, and I need you. If you're real, show yourself. And they did,
Okay.
and it completely
Good.
changed my life. And that was in
Neat.
my late 20s. So I found God
Okay.
about 15 years ago. It's dating myself a little bit, but
Yep.
um,
That's fine.
found God, and through that journey through my 30s, um, everything in my life completely changed. Um, the I can't explain that. You understand, and
Oh yeah.
believers understand that nothing in my life has ever been the same, and I love it. And have I built everything out, even in the tire world, it is still a very blue collar world. The enemy has taken hold very much. So there was a lot of people that I worked with that they were formerly incarcerated or drug addicts or like it was just the whole gamut of people, and I got to preach and pray to a lot of men, and it was just incredible, being kind of a light in that world. And I just kept having that pull to bring more in ministry, to bring more God into more people. And so that's where I started building things online, because I wanted to be able to reach more people. I had a small reach, and it's afforded me that opportunity to do that through my group with the multiple members with the TV stations, media stations. Like, I get to tell
Hmm.
my story. I get to talk about Jesus, and I get to do that
Yep.
every single day, and I love it. And I lead with Jesus in everything I do. Um, every morning I have a board meeting with my boss. And that's the man upstairs, and
Very good.
it's a prayer meeting. It's study, it's structure, and it's really just finding out what he wants me to do with his business, because it's his, and we're just being stewards of it. So I lead with that. Um, all of my discussions are with that. My prayers, it's just everything. Like, my focus is him. My marriage now, our focus is him, and it couldn't be any better. Like, we've been married 8 years, and it's just incredible. Is there times of strife and toughness? Yes, there is, of course, in business, life, everywhere. But when we know that he's at the center and the focus, it takes that out, right?
Sure. Sure. Yep. Perspective is a big thing. Seeing
Mhm.
life in perspective, whether you see life from your perspective or from God's perspective. Yeah. It's a big change, huge change. Very good. So as you've coached a lot of businesses
Mhm.
and they're wanting to, and maybe you've already answered this, and they're wanting to reach their ideal client, what is the number one mistake that you have seen that they are making that they're not getting what they want?
Um, Putting in the work.
Really?
Once we find this and find the ideal client, we think it's still going to be a magic pill that we can take, and everything's just going to be great, and everything's going to be grand. And are there those times that does happen? Yes, but 99% of those cases that you see the successful people that roll is because they still put the work in. They understand there's going to be failures, that it's not going to be perfect every situation. In reality, as entrepreneurs, you're going to fail 90% of the time. You have to pick yourself up for that 10% of the time, 1 out of 10, that you're going to succeed. And you have to keep taking chances. You have to do educated chances at this, because we can't just throw everything out there,
Yeah,
but you have to take educated
sure.
chances, and you still have to strive for success. You think of I just did a story, because I do some men's group stuff. And there's a gentleman called Nick Vujicic. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yep.
He has no arms and no legs. He was born this way, and
Okay.
yet he is the second highest paid speaker in the world. He has not let his disabilities change anything in his life, because he sees that every setback is a learning opportunity to move forward. And he's successful
Mhm.
in business, speaking, just an incredible individual. But we have to take the lessons that we learn, or the failures that we have, and change that.
Yep.
It's not a failure, it's a lesson learned. You know what not to do again.
Yep. Yep. And that's what somebody once also said, when helping people with business, sometimes it's not, oh, here's what to do,
Hmm.
but here's the mistakes I made. Don't do that.
Yes.
Because sometimes what you're doing today is so grand that we just kind of like, I can't do that.
Hmm.
But if you say, oh, don't make these mistakes, that's the landmines and the pitfalls. Oh, we won't do that. That's a good idea.
Yep.
Very good.
Yeah. I highly,
So
highly, highly recommend a coach, a mentor, somebody that is where you want to be, that has gone through what you don't want to go through. So that way you can learn from them.
yep. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. So what's next for you? Do you have anything new on the horizon here with
I do.
Profitable Businessman?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. I actually just started another company, as you know, serial entrepreneur.
Okay. Very good.
A company called My Lead Co.
Okay.
MyLeadCo. My Lead Company. Being a lead generation company, I wanted to be able to help clients uh, go with, build out their prospecting model, their lead generation model, and basically where my team and me, we actually manage that for them through multiple different social media platforms. But we kind of take the charge on that for them, because as I was telling you about the coaching pieces, being able to tell people how to do it and what to do, sometimes that doesn't always translate. And there's issues here and there. And I'm just like, look, how can we help people more? Let's solve this problem. Let's just do it for them.
Sure. Yep. And I've seen on on your site, it's done for you kind of thing. And it's reminds me of the marketing and advertising done for you. We can do this lead generation somewhat for you as well.
Yes, yes,
Very
yes.
good.
Yeah, definitely.
Very good. Um,
Well,
so we are about out of time, but how can people learn more about you, or where can they find you?
there's a couple different ways. The profitablesalesman.com is the main website that you can jump on. You can see the link for our Facebook group there, which everybody's free to join on that. It's the Profitable Christian Business Owner Community. As you can see, the profitable is kind of my moniker. And then my new company is
Yep.
My Lead Co. And you can check that out at myleadco.com. Super simple.